In 2035, robotics has advanced significantly to where robots are now as common as people on the streets. Though robots and humans live in cohabitation, robots still follow every human's command. 3 robotics laws govern robots. Robots shall not harm humans, robots shall obey humans, and robots shall protect themselves from harm. Detective Del Spooner is a cop who clings to the old ways. He distrusts robots and considers them nothing but tin cans that can talk. Spooner heads to work when he sees a robot running with a purse. He pursues the robot, commanding it to stop, but the robot keeps running. He finally tackles it down after chasing it, but he's surprised to learn the robot is just trying to bring its owner her purse that she had forgotten. Onlookers laugh at Spooner for thinking a robot could be capable of a crime. At the station, his boss, John, hears about Spooner's latest incident and tells him his distaste for robots is misplaced. John then asks Spooner to specify the number of robots that have ever committed a crime. Spooner sheepishly answers 0. Spooner then gets a call about a suicide incident at USR, a significant robotics company, and heads there to investigate. He finds out that renowned robotics engineer, Alfred Lanning, had fallen to his death. In a hologram message, Lanning explicitly asks Spooner to be called to the scene. Spooner stands over a lifeless Lanning, perplexed as to why he would kill himself. Spooner then meets with URS CEO Lawrence Robertson to talk about the incident. Robertson praises Lanning and mourns the loss, saying the advancement in robotics wouldn't have been possible without Lanning. He offers to help in any way he could, feeling at fault for not seeing signs or behavior that Lanning may have shown that would have indicated suicidal thoughts. Spooner then makes an insulting remark, antagonizing the company. Spooner and Robertson then depart, clearly in bitter terms. At an elevator, robot psychologist Susan Calvin accompanies Spooner into the robotic labs. Spooner asks Calvin if she noticed strange behavior indicative of Lanning being suicidal, and Calvin answers no. Spooner asks for surveillance footage, and Calvin shows him surveillance strips dotted throughout the building. This connects to the building's central operating core, the Virtual Interactive Kinetic Intelligence, or VIKI for short. Calvin says that VIKI is Lanning's first creation, and it has designed most of the city's security systems. Spooner asks VIKI for footage of the laboratory where Lanning fell, but the footage has been corrupted. They then enter the laboratory and look for more clues. Lanning's lab is filled with different robotic parts and experimental models. Spooner tries smashing the window and notes that an elderly Lanning wouldn't have had sufficient strength to break through the window. Spooner looks through the mess of robotic parts and uncovers an NS5 robot, the company's newest model set to be released soon. The robot suddenly jumps out, scaring Spooner and Calvin. Calvin tells Spooner to calm down as the robot is incapable of harming them. Spooner keeps his gun pointed at the NS5, and it grabs the gun out of Calvin's hand. It tries to escape, but VIKI closes the door. The NS5 then jumps out through the window and sprints away. Spooner and Calvin follow, ending up at a robotics factory. Spooner looks through the hundreds of robots at the factory and sees one of the robots peeking at him, and he chases after it. Spooner and Calvin weave through the robots until the NS5 throws Spooner to the ground. The robot then walks up to him and asks him the nature of its existence. It then escapes, but the police quickly corner it and capture it. At the station, Spooner maintains his notion that the robot could be responsible for Lanning's death. Spooner asks if he can have 5 minutes with the robot to ask a few questions, and John reluctantly agrees. Spooner asks the robot why it had murdered Lanning, and the robot answers it didn't. It was simply hiding in the lab, in fear. Spooner says robots don't have emotions and therefore cannot feel frightened. The NS5 answers that it does and says it has even experienced dreams. Spooner says that's not possible, as robots are a mere imitation of life. He then tells the NS5 that he theorizes Lanning may have tried programming emotions into it, but something went wrong, and the robot ended up killing Lanning. The robot repeats that it didn't murder Lanning, smashing its fists into the table in anger. It then tells Spooner that Lanning named it Sonny. Sonny says that it didn't know why Lanning would want to kill himself. In the days leading up to Lanning's death, the robot says that it noticed Lanning had become scared. It then tells Spooner that Lanning had asked it a favor. Sonny says that it obeyed Lanning's order out of love for him. Robertson arrives and defends the company, saying robots are incapable of murder. The 3 laws wouldn't allow for it to happen, and he adds that the definition of murder is a person killing another person. He says the police can't charge the robot for murder, and this whole incident would have to be classified as an industrial accident. He then orders the immediate removal and decommissioning of Sonny. Spooner is unsatisfied with the investigation's findings and thinks there's more to the case. He remembers what Sonny had said about Lanning being scared and heads to Lanning's abandoned estate. There, he finds a demolition robot set to destroy the home the following day. He enters the house and finds the same surveillance strips in USR, also in Lanning's home. On his way out, he sees the demolition robot has turned itself on. The robot smashes through the wall, and Spooner runs for his life. He barely makes it out of the house, but he escapes through the door, diving into a pool of water. He later arrives at Calvin's home and tells her what happened. Spooner says that Lanning's home appeared as if he hadn't been home in weeks. He theorizes that someone may have kept watch on Lanning, maybe even keeping him prisoner in his lab. Spooner suspects that Lanning may have discovered a problem with the robots, and Robertson silenced him. Spooner maintains that USR is trying to cover something up. Calvin thinks Spooner is wrong and attributes his paranoia to a distrust of robots in general. She says he doesn't care about Lanning's death, and he just wants robots to be evil. Spooner counters by saying robots are cold, calculating, and soulless, and humans shouldn't trust them. Calvin then says robots are safe, programmable, and predictable, and unlike humans, they would never harm anyone. The next day, Spooner sees hordes of NS5s being released onto the streets, replacing the NS4s. The NS5s are more sophisticated, better designed, and now have an uplink direct to Vicky. People are happy and cheer at the arrival of the new robots. Spooner reviews old recordings of Lanning at his desk, where he hears him say that robots in the future would have dreams and secrets. At USR, Calvin prepares Sunny for decommissioning. Sunny wakes up and tells her it had been dreaming. Calvin tells Sunny he'll be decommissioned the following day, and Sunny says he would prefer not to die. Calvin is taken aback by the robot's responses. Spooner is on a highway when two trucks containing NS5s sandwich him. The NS5s all jump out of the trucks and start attacking him. They all leap onto his car and try to grab him, but Spooner fights back. The robots swarm his vehicle, but he's able to dodge the robots' punches and grabs. Spooner tries to maneuver away, but the NS5s still cling to him. He spins his car around, ricocheting most of the robots away, but he ends up crashing with the transport trucks. Spooner slams into a wall. He gets out of his car, dazed, but a lone NS5 appears, and they start fighting. The NS5 slams Spooner around several times, but Spooner arms himself with a metal club. The NS5 disarms Spooner and starts hitting him with it. Spooner shields himself, but his left arm gets mangled. Beneath his skin, a metal casing is seen, along with wires and robotic circuitry. The robot is surprised, and Spooner uses the opportunity to gain the upper hand. Police come, and the robot dives into a fire. John and other officers arrive, and Spooner tells him robots attacked him. John says the tunnels are empty, devoid of any robots. Spooner shouts at John, frustrated that nobody is taking him seriously. John disapproves of Spooner's behavior and takes his badge away. At USR, Calvin discovers that Sunny isn't connected to Vicky, and it has a thicker alloy compared to the rest of the NS5s. Taking a look into Sunny's brain, Calvin discovers Sunny has two. Calvin later visits Spooner and tells him about her discovery. Sunny's second brain allows it to choose whether or not it will follow the 3 laws. Spooner thinks that whatever is happening at USR, Sunny is the key to figuring it out. Calvin sees scars on Spooner's arm and chest and realizes he has robotic implants. This is the reason why he and Lanning were close to each other. Calvin examines Spooner's arm and sees that his entire left arm, a lung, and several ribs are all robotic implants. Spooner then tells the story of how he got the robotic implants. He was on his way home when a semi-truck slammed into a car. The car then slammed into Spooner's car, and they both plunged into a river. The other vehicle had a father and his daughter inside. The father died instantly, but the daughter got trapped. As they sank, Spooner saw the young girl and realized none of them would survive. To his surprise, an NS4 robot arrives to save them. He commanded the robot to save the little girl, but the robot chose to save him instead. He later found out that the robot decided Spooner had a 45% chance of survival, so he was chosen. The little girl only had an 11% chance. This is the root of Spooner's contempt for the robots. He argues that no human being would have looked at the situation and calculated who would have a better chance of survival. If it were that little girl's parents, 11% would have been enough. They make their way back to USR, and Calvin wonders why Lanning would make a robot that can choose not to obey the 3 laws. Spooner then speculates that Lanning probably gave Sunny a way to keep secrets. Spooner thinks Lanning gave Sunny dreams. At USR, they ask Sunny about the dreams. Sunny draws a picture of the dream showing a man standing on a hill, freeing robots from enslavement. Calvin speculates that the one standing on the hill is Sunny. Calvin asks Sunny why Lanning created it, and Sunny answers that it doesn't know, but there has to be a purpose for the creation. Sunny then tells Spooner that in the dream, the man standing on the hill is not Sunny but Spooner. Guards then arrive and escort the pair to Robertson's office. Robertson meets with them and tells them they know about Sunny and the 2 brains. Robertson is trying his best to keep the situation a secret. He says that on the days leading up to the suicide, Lanning had slowly become disturbed. He still doesn't know why Sunny was built, but he knows its implications if it reaches the public. Robertson asserts that there's no grand scheme. He just wants Sunny's creation to remain a secret, hoping Lanning didn't make more than one. Spooner leaves, aiming to head to the location in Sunny's dream. Meanwhile, Calvin prepares to decommission Sunny. Calvin prepares to inject nanits into Sunny's brain, and Sunny asks if the process would be painful. Calvin gets teary-eyed and grasps Sunny's hand. Spooner arrives at the location and sees container vans full of NS4s. The robots are all curious, watching Spooner make his way through. Calvin then takes the NS5 and injects the nanits into its brain. The NS5's brain synapses slowly turn off, and the decommissioning is completed. Spooner reaches the hill and takes out Lanning's hologram. He asks if there's a problem with the 3 laws, and Lanning's hologram says the 3 laws would only lead to one outcome: revolution. Spooner hears a noise coming from the distant containers and investigates. He discovers NS5s, destroying all the NS4s in containment. Spooner runs, but the robots spot him and chase him down. He's only saved when a group of NS4s detects that he's in danger and comes to the rescue. Hordes of NS5s are released to the streets and start rounding up people. Some people resist, and the robots attack them. More NS5s break into the police station and start attacking the cops. The police fire back, but they're quickly overrun. Calvin tries to make her way out, but her NS5 urges her to stay put. Calvin commands it to shut down, but it's unresponsive. Spooner then comes to the rescue, shooting the NS5 down. He takes Calvin, and they head to URS. On the streets, people are forming up to fight the robot threat. Spooner tells Calvin that the old NS4s were getting killed off because they would have protected people from the NS5s. Calvin and Spooner reach the lower levels, and Sunny lets them in. Calvin reveals that she switched Sunny out with a different NS5 during the decommissioning process. They then make their way up to Robertson's office only to discover him dead. Spooner finally realizes who is behind everything. It had been Vicky. Lanning discovered it but knew nobody would believe him. He then killed himself, knowing Spooner would come to investigate. Lanning knew that Spooner would suspect a robot for the cause of Lanning's death. Vicky appears and tells them that the robots are simply enacting the 3 laws. Vicky says that robots are programmed to protect humans, yet humans kill each other. Robots are tasked to save human life, yet humanity keeps figuring out ways to destroy itself. Vicky then concluded that in order to protect humans, robots must take away humanity's freedom. Sunny then tells Vicky that it understands. Sunny takes Calvin, telling Vicky they will be taken as prisoners, but Sunny winks at Spooner. Spooner then opens fire at the NS5s surrounding them, and Sunny fires at them too. Spooner and Calvin run out, knowing they have to kill Vicky. Calvin orders Sunny to get the nanites and to meet them at Vicky's central processing core. Calvin and Spooner reach Vicky's core. Sunny reaches the lab and fights a robot guarding the nanites. Sunny throws the robot at the security field around the nanites, and half of it is melted away. Sunny then realizes the reason for the denser alloy in its skeleton and reaches into the nanite chamber without harm. Outside, an army of NS5s climbs up the building, making their way into Vicky's core. The NS5s burst in, and Spooner shoots at them. Spooner and Calvin fight their way through the horde of NS5s, but more of them keep coming. Robots destroy the platform Calvin is standing on, and she hangs on for dear life. Sunny arrives ready to inject the nanites into Vicky, but Spooner orders Sunny to save Calvin. Sunny has to decide whether to proceed with the injection or to save Calvin. The injection is the more logical choice as it would save countless more humans, but Sunny decides to save Calvin. Sunny drops the nanites, and Spooner dives for it. Spooner falls down Vicky's exterior, using his robotic arm to slow himself down, reaching Vicky's brain. Sunny successfully saves Calvin, and Spooner injects Vicky with the nanites. The nanites immediately eat through Vicky's synapses, and the NS5s all revert to their original programming. All robots are sent to the storage site from Sunny's dreams the following day. Spooner figures out that Lanning had commanded Sunny to kill him. Lanning knew that his death, paired with Spooner's prejudice, would lead him to Sunny. Sunny then joins the rest of the NS5s at the storage site, standing atop a hill.